Limbus company players are eating good, as yet another big event has hit the game, and this time it's the LCB Regular Check-Up, featuring a bunch of new stages, enemies, a unique boss and great rewards. Some of you might have cleared the event, some of you might be stuck on a stage, and some of you might not even have tried the newest content. So in today's video, I want to quickly introduce you to the LCB Regular Check-Up and how you can get the special clear rewards for each stage if you are struggling. We will also go over how you can effectively farm MS data to get a ton of rewards, so watch until the end to not miss anything that you might be interested in. But before we start, you already know that I have to tell you that most of my viewers are not subscribed. And if you find yourself liking my content enough to come back or end up enjoying this video, you should consider subscribing to never miss my new uploads. It helps me out a lot and takes just 1 second. Without further ado, let's get back to the event. LCB Regular Checkup is a new event that's classified as Chapter 7.5. Why is it not an Intervallo or Mini? I'm not sure. But probably because the story in this event is important enough to the lore. But I can't say for certain. What I can say for certain though is the fact that this event has a 14 node map, with 5 of them being simple story segments, but the rest forming a fun gauntlet, where every stage except the first and last ones limits your pool of sinners, forcing you to get creative at times in order to beat the special conditions. Right now, I want to quickly go over each of these stages and what combination of identities you can use to easily clear the stage and get the bonus reward. What I want you to keep in mind is that these stages aren't difficult unless you make some serious mistakes or lack identities for certain sinners. However, even then, beating the stages doesn't pose that much of a problem, as your main issue will likely lie with the EX clear conditions. The first stage is pretty simple, as you can use whoever you want. In 7.5-1, you will face a team of enemy Pikachu disguised as Lu Association identities. The stage is balanced around level 47 and requires you to beat it in 10 turns. Nothing special, you should easily breeze past this one, but I guess as a blanket tip for enemy Pikachu going forward, using early SP recovery does wonders, as combat becomes a lot less reliant on luck after a Whispers proc or 2. The second stage is even easier, as it's just a fight against some common level 45 Pikachu, so let's skip this one. The fun gauntlet starts at 7.5-6, with the stage called Meaningless Wrath. In this stage, Sinclair and Honglu are the only sinners that can be chosen, and they're forced to fight against the 3 tiers of the Wrath Pikachu. As an added effect to spice things up, the sinners are inflicted with burn equal to the current turn count every turn. The mission for this stage is clearing the encounter with both Sinclair and Honglu surviving with at least half of their HP. To do that, you will want to rush through the encounter as soon as possible, as to protect yourself from the ramping burn stacks you cannot avoid. To do that, I personally used Sinclair and Full Stop Honglu, both of whom output great damage and clash really well. One thing to note when using ammo identities though is the fact that all of your sinners get a lot more actions, so you will run out of ammo much quicker. If you do not have any super meta identities for these 2 sinners, try to use the IDs that deal Lust and Gloom damage, as those damage types are most effective against the boss. Also, don't forget to upgrade, so you aren't in hopeless clash jail on the 3rd wave. Moving on to 7.5-7, we have Directionless Sloth, which I personally needed a couple of attempts on. In this encounter, a small team of Faust, Mersault and Gregor goes up against the 3 tiers of the Sloth Pikachu. The Class 3 Sloth Pikachu is a new enemy, which has a kit built around stalling and tremor reverb. The mission for the stage is clearing it within 9 turns, which is easier said than done, considering that the final enemy in the encounter pretty consistently takes only 20% of the damage that comes at it. To get the bonus rewards on this stage, I utilized Syncing, with a team of Butler Faust, DH Mersault and Air Gregor. The team ended up working well enough to quickly deal with the first 2 waves, and Syncing damage bypassed the boss's damage mitigation, allowing me to beat the stage in under 9 turns. I am pretty sure that this is the best option for beating the stage, However, you could potentially use Rupture, though don't quote me on that. By the way, Solemn Lament works wonders here. Next up, we have 7.5-8, Sinking on Purpose. In this encounter, Heathcliff, Rodion and Otis face off against both Gluttony and Gloom-Pecatulae, and even though there are two types of enemies in the encounter, there is still only one boss, the Class 3 Gloom-Pecatulum. The mission for Sinking on Purpose is to kill every enemy before they self-detonate. Note that only the Gloom-Pecatulae self-detonate due to their unique buff. The Gluttony ones get self-healing instead, making them much less of a priority if you are using some weak IDs. The final boss of this encounter is pretty squishy compared to the mountain in the previous fight, and getting rid of it in 3 turns does not pose that much of a challenge. The team I used consists of Full Stop Heathcliff, Deviat Rodia and Magic Bullet Otis, but really, if you have the first two, Otis's ID can really be anything. Heathcliff piles on the Pierce and Envy damage, while Rodion makes short work of the Gluttony Pecatulae and also hits the boss's weak spot. This stage should not pose much of an issue, but if you are struggling, try to prioritize Gluttony and Envy damage to have an easier time with the boss. The next encounter is Dulled Harpoon, which makes you use Ishmael and Roshu to cut down some Lust and Pride Pecatulae. This encounter in its entirety is really easy, and should not pose any threat unless you literally don't have any Ishmael or Roshu IDs. There are no new enemies here, as you only fight Class 1 and 2 Pecatulae, and also the EX objective for this stage is to simply not get hit a lot. And realistically, most of you are doing this one hitless. As I've said, the stage can only be problematic if you got really unlucky with the identities for this stage's duel. After Dulled Harpoon, we have 7.5-10, Stinging. This encounter features our canonically strongest and weakest sinners working together to defeat Envy Pecatulae that are impersonating them. In this stage, you have to face off against 2 waves of 2 enemies. The first wave features Dawn and Yisang from the Blade lineage, and wave 2 is them but from Warp Corp. And while the start of the fight can be a bit coin flippy if you have some average 3-star identities, the second wave in particular is extremely docile, as warp identities really pose no risk when they have 0 charge. The mission for this one is quite a simple attention check, as all you need to get additional rewards is make sure that Yisang kills at least one Yisang impersonator, and Dawn kills at least one of her own. Also, Warp Corp Yisang has a Frespin 1 base ego equipped for some reason, so that's fun. I personally use Solemn Lament and Manager of Lama Chaland, but I don't think you need such strong IDs to beat the stage. Any 3-star will suffice. The final encounter before the replayable dungeon for this event is 7.5-11, the Price of Curiosity, and this one is a bit different, let's just say. Yes, we're fighting Sancho again. In reality, the encounter is incredibly easy, and serves more as a way to remind us all of Dawn's immense strength. You do not need to defeat Sancho here, and staggering her once will do the job. After that, she'll do her little cutscene of healing everyone instantly, and holy shit, is that the red gaze? And yeah, it's that easy. The EX clear objective here is to beat the stage in 10 turns, and the best I've managed to do is 2 turns. As much as this encounter might seem tough, it's really just a bait. Equip some pierce damage and be done with that. And finally, we've made it to the Fathoms. Much like every event with a unique resource, the LCB Regular Check-Up ends in a shared mirror dungeon type dungeon, ending in a boss fight. The fun part about this one is that it features a couple of new ego gifts that help the Burn and Rupture teams. In fact, at the start of the dungeon, you're choosing a gift for either Burn, Rupture or everything else, so you can guess which teams Project Moon expect you to use. However, if you're looking to farm up MS data to get the rewards, you're not forced to play only these teams. Anything that deals decent damage works well here, so bringing the win rate special is a viable option for fast clears. I personally just run Burn to justify spending a ton of pulls on the new Faust, but if you have a strong Bleed, Poise or other good team ready, You do not need to play around the gifts and stage design too much to win quickly. An important thing to note is that closer to the end of the dungeon, you will come across this choice of encounter. And all I can say is that you should always go for the less blunt one. The other choice will have you beat your head against a literal rock, and that can drastically slow down your clear. Also, side note, I have a strong feeling that I will absolutely hate the new Sloth Picatulum, and it better not show up in the next Refraction Railway. After you're done with the small stages, only the boss remains. Of course, the boss is Distorted Hohenheim, whose gimmick is pretty simple. Break his shield every turn and kill him quickly, otherwise you will have some problems. Both Rupture and Burn get additional effects against his shield, but I really don't see the point in getting into all the details. Using those effects will marginally speed up the boss fight, but win rating does the job, so don't worry about having to use your head for this. And now, the miscellaneous tips section. If you're out of encapsuling, you can always buy boxes in the rewards to keep going. Just don't turn them into modules by accident. The mirror dungeons got a pack based on the event, and it gives data. It's a great way to farm up data while not stopping the true grind even for a second. Using the Faust and Yisang LCE IDs, as well as Roshu's new ego, increases the amount of data you get. This makes Burn, Poison, Rupture the preferred options for farming, but you really can just put those identities on the bench in every team, as they will still give the increased rewards. And with that, my little overview/introduction to the LCB Regular Check-Up event is over. Getting new enemies is always awesome, and getting huge rewards is even better. I am glad to see a big event so soon after Walpurgisnacht, although the Faust is a bit meh. Though I will get into the rewards in a future video very soon, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed the video at any point, leave a like to let me know, and if you want to add something to this video, feel free to leave a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye!